First of all, I would like to thank the whole organization team of the conference. I really love this conference. Second, I would like to thank all the sponsors, because everything without the sponsors, all this could not have been done. So I will be starting my presentation. I'm assuming everyone can see it. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My major is actually in computer games technology. I'm a project management professional from 2012, and currently I've been doing a lot of gamification consultant. And I've been working in the pharmaceutical industry for more than 10 years. So this is my career history. I've been managing a warehouse, Outbound Logistics. I've been doing marketing, implementation of an ERP system, and digital transformation. So about the company I work in is one of the companies is called Monos Pharma Trade. We are the leading pharmaceutical distribution company in Mongolia. Our last year's revenue was $110 million, and we cover 33% market share in the wholesale business. We do nationwide distribution. Mongolia is a huge country with very low population. This is driving the logistics costs quite high. Also, the market has, we're supplying 3,200 pharmacies nationwide, 800 in the capital city and 24,100 in the countryside. The whole market consists of the wholesale business is approximately import price is $200 million, and there are 4 chain pharmaceutical companies and plus 3,000 independent pharmacies, and which is around 6,000 licensed pharmacists currently working in the market. So a small introduction about the pharmaceutical marketing is that usually it's divided into 3 main pipelines. First of all, it's prescription medicine. This is the marketing is done by training doctors and pharmacists. Second one is over-the-counter, which is non-prescription, and it's also training doctors and pharmacists. Also sometimes use traditional marketing. And the third one is food supplements and vitamins, which is also training doctors and pharmacists, plus traditional marketing and plus sales incentives. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because 95% of the operations and budget in the marketing of pharmaceutical consists of training pharmacists and doctors. This training is done in 2 ways. Basically, a seminar or a lecture, usually brought in by renowned doctors or pharmacists and influencers. And usually the budget costs $3,000 to $10,000 per day. And visit on the job place by a medical representative to train doctors and pharmacists at their working environment. So up until now, this traditional pharmaceutical marketing has been around for almost 100 years. And this is current state of it, it has a lot of issues. For example, after the event session or seminar, we don't know how much they actually learned. Some of the trainees are literally sleeping during the lecture. Some of them just come for the credits required to extend their licenses. And some of them, they don't even attend, they just send a relative or something. They come during attendance and leave and come back at the end and try to get their certificates. Lectures are painfully boring. Medical lectures are really, really boring, honestly. Visits are often have to be repeated due to change of shifts in the pharmacies, or sometimes it's really hard to get the doctor available, or because Mongolian public health system has a lot of queues at the front. So also in the capital city, traffic is really bad, and outside the city, you have to travel from 200 to 1,500 kilometers by car to visit those doctors, which is also causing huge problems and a lot of costs. And finally, the lack of data of the person you're trying to train, because sometimes you don't know if they have actually had this training before or not, and sometimes you just waste your time and the doctor's or pharmacist's time. So with this, we came out with a solution. 3 years ago, we did a small prototype, and from the prototype, we actually found out that it can be done. So we came for the conference, we met Self-Driven, and we started implementing their system. So this is a short introduction video about the prototype. I'm going to share a video. So yeah, we started this prototype, and we gathered some data. We actually learned some of the learning behaviors of the pharmacists, and we started and the conclusion from the online training is that my advice would be, do not develop in-house systems for your gamification, because if you're managing a community, this is going to take all your time managing the community. So there's a lot of solutions on the market. All you need to do is research. Also, second, don't start on a whim. Do plenty of research. And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of consultants you can find, especially on this conference. So these people are very professional at the gamification. So don't try to do everything yourself. Start asking people, because this is quite important. It will save you a lot of time. The second was first stage. The training part was quite good, but the second stage was even better, because they're actually getting sales incentives from the system, and they can actually purchase stuff from the store. And one of the issues we were facing was the digital divide. People over 45 years old were having trouble with the online systems and using the solution. And the third one was when we tried to implement into different pharmacies, the independent pharmacies, each of them have a different POS system. So the integration challenges were quite also high. So after that, we started the community after 6 months, and we did the conference in 2018. In 2018, we gathered around 1,200 people, but 800 of them were actual pharmacists. And in 2019, we gathered 600 pharmacists, but it was a paid event. It was the first ever paid event for pharmacists on the market, and we actually gathered a lot of people. And now I will show from the, one sec, I will change the screen. Okay, so the offline event, the conference, and we started doing offline events every month. So this video will be what we actually did in the community. So I turned off the music. I hope everyone can see it. So this was the conference, and the conference was quite successful because we didn't really talk about products. It had an expo. The expo was all the sponsors. We gathered around 30 to 35 manufacturers from all over the world, and 2-day event was presenting, and all these expo, they had the opportunity to sell B2B, business to business, on the expo. So the conference was quite successful. It was kind of a traditional conference. Later, we started gamifying events. So, for example, this is the picnic training. We gather them, we divide them into teams, make them play games, more engagement training, short amount of trainings. And this caused a lot of interest in the pharmacists, because this time they actually didn't come for credits. They actually came because they actually liked the trainings. And after the training, we used the online system to check how much they actually learned. And we did the Halloween party with the training also. And one of the most successful events for a professionals community, I would suggest, would be a quiz night. Quiz night is very successful, especially for professionals, because these professionals are trying to they get really competitive because the questions were really professional questions, and they want to show off in front of their peers. So a quiz night would be a very good suggestion for a professionals event. training event. And even after the quiz, they've been talking about the questions, and they were talking about their own mistakes, and it actually stayed. Whatever they learned from the quizzes, they actually stayed. And the New Year party was also sponsored by our sponsors, and this wasn't a training, but it was more like a community gathering event. So one thing about these pharmacies is that each of them are actually competitors. They sit in the pharmacy all alone for a whole day, so they lack of this community thing. So we brought them together, and but one thing about them is that they're all graduated from the same school, because there was only one pharmaceutical school graduating until 2014. And after that, there were like multiple schools graduating pharmacists. So we gathered them like a classmates alumni event. And the snow party training was also quite interesting. So I have the video ends here, and I am going to the conclusions. So
okay,
don't worry, Pete. I will show the conclusions slide. So the conclusion about this is that whenever you have a professionals community, you can always find a sponsor, especially with pharmacists, because marketing budget of pharmaceutical manufacturers is huge. So I think we had a very good point there. We were quite lucky in that part. And the quiz night was, of course, very successful because it was a professional. From the behavioral analytics, the actual people, the guests' data, especially the doctors' data, pharmacists' data, we distributed reports. We generated reports, and we distributed to the sponsors. And with this report, we actually monetized ourselves. Also, a follow-up online training after an offline event would be very useful, because we actually can check how much they actually learned from the training and how long they actually remember. Also, when it comes to the visits training for the medical representative, with the data of the quizzes, they actually answered correct and wrong. They can actually focus on which areas to focus on when on their visits, and which is making their visits much like 10 times more effective. Also, one of the things which we learned the hard way is that when we were sending reports to our sponsors, they didn't know how to actually use it, but they didn't tell us that. So we had to teach all the sponsors how to use this data correctly and how to make the most out of it. The most difficult part was the member-generated content, because we did some incentivizing for every post and comments. We did some mistakes there, but after the incentives are gone, it just dies off. So the last part is that the growing community takes a lot of time, but it's a slow and sticky growth. And the last part is that make sure you use the content, context, connectivity, and continuity and collaboration in the community, because these are the main 5 points you have to focus on. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamir. Actually, it was really interesting. I'm sort of sorry that we ran out of time. I couldn't hear the rest or a bit more detail.